At the moment, we're sending about 68,000 emails a day across our portfolio for all of our clients. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we do that, how we buy domains, how we set up infrastructure, such that we can do the scale without landing in spam. By the end of this video, you'll have a whole lot of information that you can use to send more emails, book more meetings, and close more deals. Let's get into it. So just for some context, we are split across Smartlead and Instantly at the moment. The only reason why we are split is because one of our new, cheaper inbox providers is just providing them in Instantly and not on Smartlead as of today. So that's why we're splitting it. Typically, we've been all in on Smartlead, but I know that some people would like to split it anyway because it provides some more diversity. So let's just take yesterday, 30,000 net new sends in Instantly and 38,000 in Smartlead. We're split across both platforms. So why would you want to send more cold emails? So there are two things that people fundamentally get wrong with outbound. Firstly, people tend to severely underestimate the amount of emails required to grow their business through cold outbound. So let's just say you want to add $100,000 a month worth of revenue and you want to do it through cold email. And now I'm going to make these numbers up, but it's going to prove a point. And let's say you've got a lifetime value of $2,500. That means you need to close 40 net new deals every single month to continue to have this $100,000 increase in revenue. Rough reply rates, 2.5% reply rate, 30% of that being positive, and from positive reply rate to close deal, 5%. So this includes percentage of them that book in calls and then percentage of calls that close deals. So to do 40 deals a month, you need to contact 106,000 companies per month. And these numbers are numbers of someone that has offer market fit. And that leads me to my second thing that people get wrong is that people think the market wants to buy what they have to sell. And they're 90% of the time they're wrong. Okay. So to put it another way, people fail at outbound because they only reach out to a few people and those people do not want to buy what they're trying to sell. However, if let's say this is your numbers, why would you only reach out to 106,000 companies? Why wouldn't you reach out to 2 million companies? Because the hard part is done. The hard part is finding something to sell that people want to buy. Once you've found something to sell that people want to buy, you should theoretically just send more emails, okay? You should do more action. You need to have offer market fit and you need to constantly send a lot of emails. So sending more cold emails is for people who have some semblance of offer market fit. If you're successful at sending 10,000 emails a month, you should probably try sending 50,000 a month. And you should keep scaling until you've gone so far away from your total addressable market that people don't want to buy your stuff. That's essentially what you should be trying to do here. So ideally you're constrained with onboarding, fulfillment, and then you solve that and get back to scaling acquisition. I've got a caveat here, which is who you can serve obviously impacts this. If there's only 10,000 companies that you can help, I recommend emailing them every 8 weeks. What I'm saying here is I've never seen someone actually burn their TAM, and we tend to work with people with larger TAMs. But if you can only serve a small amount of companies, then I'm not recommending that you email them every day. This is for people that have slightly larger TAMs and people that have some semblance of offer market fit. So let's dive into some numbers around how much it costs to set up this infrastructure, what sort of providers we would recommend, and what we have tried in the past and what's worked and not worked. When it comes to setting up infrastructure for high volume sending, typically cheaper costs come with increased technicality and risk. And what I mean by that is as you try and send more for cheaper, you're going to be buying riskier and riskier inboxes, domains, tenants. And that risk might just be there's less support for you on those platforms. So if you don't know what you're doing, then you might get it wrong and burn your accounts. It's not necessarily mean like they're black market, you shouldn't be using them. It just means you maybe have to do more stuff yourself. Your VAs, if you're getting VAs set up, might need to be more competent in what they're doing, this sort of thing. Let's just start with typical resellers, and I'm using Zapmail and premium inboxes, so I'm just going to pull them up here. We've had good experiences with them. Essentially, if there's any of these accounts where if you go into email accounts and you wanted to like purchase, they'll have a bunch of vendors on here. If they're integrated with these platforms, like they're going to have quite a lot of support. They're going to be easy to use, and they're going to be a little bit more expensive. But even if you look at this here, like $4.5 here, and if you buy it through here, I'm assuming it's going to be cheaper. You can get it for $3. Probably just buy it through their platforms, but these are kind of the typical resellers. They're probably going to have the most support. They're going to be the easiest to use. And to do 75,000 daily sends on something like Zapmail, it's going to cost around $11,000 to $22,000. And why there's such a big range? Because let's say one mailbox costs $3 a month, and bear in mind that's on their like highest tier plan, and one mailbox can do 10 to 20 daily sends. So this is on like a Zapmail article. I don't know how old this is, but let's say they've got their increasing inboxes go up like this, which I would say is pretty aggressive. We typically see around 10 to 20 daily sends per account. but you can be more aggressive with that. You're just more likely to burn your accounts, which is fine. So 75,000 daily sends means somewhere between 7,500 to 3,750 mailboxes, which is going to cost around this plus domains, and domain cost will be higher here, especially if you want .coms, because .com is just a lot more expensive. So hypertide equivalent is one order is $50, and so when I'm talking about hypertide, so hypertide or equivalent, meaning similar infrastructure setups like this, which is mostly like Entra and Microsoft setups. One order is $50, but if you have more than 100 orders, they give you 20% off, so it's $40. One order is 200 cents a day or 6,000 cents a month. So for 75,000 cents a day, it would cost $15,000 plus domains, and they do have a setup fee, which when we set up with them was $1,500. This is this price, and then we are now using or testing Out Engine, and this is significantly cheaper. I'm not going to say like you should just jump on this, but I would say it's worth probably testing out. We have been using it only for like a month, and so far we haven't seen any issues, but a month is too long to tell if we're going to run into any issues. There is like a link below this video to Out Engine. I haven't really seen many other people talk about it. I would recommend jumping on a call with the owner, Adam, and just do a sniff test for yourself and see what your vibes are. But we're using this, so I just thought I'm not going to gatekeep it, but it's way cheaper. So like one tenant, buying it through him, you can source them yourself, allows 500 daily sends. It's around 2,250 for 75,000 daily sends. But then there's other fees on the platform that you should pay. It's way cheaper, but also riskier, and setup takes significantly longer. I would say from making the decision to want to go live to buying, sourcing the tenants, warming, everything, it's going to take maybe 18 days, maybe 20 days, whereas these ones, you can even buy pre-warmed, but typically it will take 14 days. So there's a bit more time there. Also, it's a bit more technical of a setup. I wouldn't recommend you doing this if you've never done much cold outbound before. I'd recommend you probably start with something like this, and then you'd probably move down the order to something like this. So domain setup, I've always been a .com guy. No logical reason why, I just think they looked more professional. But recently we've been testing .info domains, and honestly they're performing similar, aside from maybe burning a little quicker. And I think they are burning quicker because people just are more likely to mark them as spam because they look a little bit spammier. But the cost is significant. So like if I go to Pork Bun, which is typically where we buy domains, and I go like carrots.com, so that's $8.88, which is a good price. But if I go info, it's $3. So it's less than half the price. I don't think that they're like any less likely to go to the primary. I think they're just more likely to be marked as spam. And then once they get marked as spam a few times, they're far more likely to go to spam. So I think that's the main thing. We bought from Pork Bun. We were then warm for 2 weeks and Smartlead instantly. Don't overthink this. Like everyone tends to overthink this. I just think do what everyone else is doing. It'll be fine. So sending tools, we use both Smartlead and Instantly, but Email Bison and +5 can be good. So Email Bison, just to show you. So this one, I would highly recommend it. The people over there are good and they know what they're doing. So I would recommend Email Bison. We're not using it because we use the master inbox a lot. The master inbox for Email Bison wasn't like super user friendly at that sort of scale. Typically you'd like hook it up to some other inbox to do like a multi-inbox, but that's fine. If you're not doing what we're doing, then that's completely fine, and potentially it's a lot better now. And then +5, I actually have never used, but I've heard good things. People say it's nice and easy to use and pretty much the same as the others, and some people prefer it, though I can't tell you exactly why, but it's worth investigating all of them. Again, we're just kind of using these two. So a few things in Smartlead that I would recommend you do is that in your campaigns, and I'm going to go on the old version because I haven't used the new version yet, make sure that when you name things, you're using a good naming convention, because this is going to be important once you start to use like NAN or some sort of automation tool to be like pulling in data and doing whatever you want to do with that. Be that categorizing leads, be that setting up like AI auto responding, be that pulling in campaign analytics based on campaign and client and this sort of thing. So we tend to do it with just like the client name, where we got the inboxes from, and then we have some stuff about the email. And then we also like to use the folders. So if we have clients in here, and then each one of them will have all the campaigns that we're currently running for that particular client. So I would just recommend get a naming convention down early. It will save you a whole lot of headache. And then instantly when we're doing that, we're using the tags. So we use folders in Smartlead and we use tags in Instantly to do the same thing. So just some deliverability basics, and I have a much longer video on this, but warm up your email accounts, 14 days minimum, just do that. If you can warm up for longer, then that's good. I've seen some people say they get better results by warming it for longer. We want to make money as soon as possible, so we warm it for 14 days and then we start sending. Use the sending settings recommended by your provider, and if you want to go outside of this, have a call with the provider. So like, I wanted to send more through Hypertide, so I had a call with Omar, the owner, and had a discussion with him about that. If you wanted to send more through Zapmail, have a call with them, see what they recommend you pushing. If you want to send more, what you're saying is, I want to do more volume without increasing costs, but there's some risk there because if you burn your infrastructure, you're going to have to buy more again, and that means you've got a 2-week waiting period of warming it, and you're going to have to buy new domains. So there's going to be costs. So you're playing this balancing act of how much can you squeeze it without going over the edge so that you incur a whole lot of extra costs. Send good emails. This is the biggest one. If you're emailing people and they want to receive your email because your offer is good and they're like, damn, this is useful and helpful and interesting and I want to move forward, then your deliverability is going to be fine. Spin tax, we're noticing this with higher and higher volumes. Essentially, you want to spin tax as much of the email as you can because Google and Microsoft are good at fingerprinting essentially any lines that get used over and over and over again. Also ad variants as well, which have different angles. This gets more and more of an issue at larger and larger volumes, but just spin tax your emails. And then if the reply rate drops significantly, then swap it out for new infrastructure. Very simple. If your reply rate starts to go low, buy new infrastructure. Okay, this is dependent on the campaign, and I cover this more in the deliverability video, and there should be a link somewhere above. If you are a B2B company and you want to reach out to tens of thousands of businesses each month because you think you've got something that's of value to them, you can book in a call down below with somebody in my team. If you're already sending out a large volume of emails but want to talk to somebody and just stress test it and see what's happening, you can also book in a call with our team below. If you want to dive deeper into the weeds, then there should be an 8-hour long video on screen now somewhere. I'll see you there. Peace.